In a land far, far away, there lives an adventurer. And since this was her third time embarking on this journey, she knew by now it was going to be an adventure of a lifetime. So she dressed herself in a plant leaf crown thing, a linen chiton, and some glass earrings. And she prepared to embark on the grueling journey to a sort of ancient Greek parallel world. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to day one of I ate only ancient Greek food for a week. Now, this has been a highly requested food week, and I have been planning it since I first came up with the idea for this ongoing series. I've just been sort of hinting at it and mentioning it here and there in some comments. I am extremely excited for this food week because I absolutely love Mediterranean food, but the ideas that we have of what Mediterranean food is today is actually kind of different than what it was for the ancient Greek people. I'll explain a little bit more in depth about that later on in the video. I'm currently enjoying a cup of Greek mountain tea, which is also known as ironwort, and it was actually known to the ancient Greek people, so I think I'm starting my week off right by having some of this tea. I went to Greece some years ago for a vacation, and I had some of this tea, and I absolutely loved it, so I saw some in the store, and I decided to buy it just to kind of celebrate the start of this week. As usual, these historical food weeks are not reenactment, nor a perfect representation of how life would have been like for ancient Greek people. Rather, I'm finding a selection of ancient Greek recipes and trying them out for the week. You might be wondering why I'm wearing an ancient Greek chiton then and why I look like this. Well, that's because I wear historical fashion every day, so I always wear some sort of historical period for my normal clothing. And over the course of this past summer, I got pretty obsessed with sewing ancient Greek fashion specifically. I even made a video where I wore only ancient Greek fashion for an entire 30 days. So I have plenty of different clothes to wear for this week, that's for sure. Now, although this is a food week, a lot of my channel focuses on experimental archaeology, especially what people wore historically. Since I hand sew most of my own clothing, anytime I come across a tool that can help me try out new design ideas, I get super excited. That's why I'd like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Pocket Styler. Both Pocket Styler the game and the studio tool are free to download and play. Pocket Styler the app is available on iOS and Android, while Pocket Styler Studio is a web tool available on desktop, laptop, and iPad. This is a dress-up game for adults where you can customize your character, attend various in-game events, and even compete with other players if you're the competitive type. There are real brands now available in the game as well, and other players vote on your looks and you get rewards when submitting those looks. Once you hit level 5 in the game, you get access to Pocket Styler Studio, which is an amazing tool that I've definitely fallen in love with, where you can create your own designs and completely customize them, unleashing your creativity. I'm a Volga Tatar. We are Turkic people native to the Volga-Ural region, and we have a historical garment called kulmak, which I've been sewing lately for myself to wear. I wanted to see if I could make a version in Pocket Styler Studio. I of course made the dress red, which is my power color, and I would say especially for my first design it was a great success, and I even made a pair of Tatar black leather boots to match. This creative tool is really going to be so helpful in the future when I want to try out a new historical design but don't want to sketch it, especially since it's easy to add details to a garment, create fabric texture, make quick adjustments, and change the color. Pocket Styler Studio is super useful in real life for inspiration, practicing styling, layering, and experimenting. And once your designs are completed, you can also market them under your own designer label in the game and sell them to millions of Pocket Styler players in return for in-game currency, essentially like owning a digital designer label. Since I love historical fashion specifically, I decided to see if I could style some history-bounding looks in the game using pre-designed items, and these are the adorable combinations that I came up with. I had so much fun putting them together. Be sure to go and get the game, and once again, it is completely free. Just click the link in the description box or use the QR code here on the screen to download Pocket Styler straight to your phone. And to create your own styles, just like I did with my Volga Tatar kulmak, visit studio.pocketstyler.com. Thank you so much to Pocket Styler for sponsoring this video, and now let's get going and power up the time machine and hop into a multiverse where everything is exactly like this one except everyone eats ancient Greek food and wears ancient Greek clothing. And so the adventurer powered up the time machine, and she set off to hop over to a parallel universe where everything is exactly as it is in this one, except everyone wears ancient Greek clothing and eats ancient Greek food. After some disorientation from the whirling and twirling and breaking of the time-space continuum, she made it to her destination mostly unscathed, ready to get started with the week. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the very first meal of this ancient Greek food week. As you can see, I've already got my very first meal laid out in front of me, and I want to talk a little bit about ancient Greek meal practices. So most of the recipes I'm going to be using throughout this week come from three primary sources. One of them is from a book called the Classical Cookbook, which is a series of ancient Greek and ancient Roman recipes. Another is this free PDF that I found online on academia.edu, which is called Hellenistic Recipes. And the third source is from a couple different websites. Now, whilst I was doing research for this video, I got a little bit of mixed information. So in the Classical Cookbook, they talk about how there is one primary meal for ancient Greek people, which is the largest meal, which is dinner. And some sources actually said that there were 3 meals consumed, which would have consisted of a light breakfast known as akratisma. I'm probably pronouncing all of these ancient Greek words incorrectly, but bear with me. And then there would have been a light lunch called arison. And then finally, the biggest meal of the day, which would have been dinner or deipnon. According to what I dug up, really light things would have been consumed for most meals, except perhaps dinner, which would have been bigger and perhaps would have contained multiple courses as well. All of this specifically is for wealthy ancient Greek people because during the ancient Greek times, there was a huge divide between poor ancient Greek people and wealthy ancient Greek people, as well as free and enslaved ancient Greek people. For poor ancient Greek people, they would have likely mostly consumed barley bread and porridge. And maybe if they were lucky, they would have gotten their hands on some seafood or vegetables or fruits or some other source of protein. Now, the poor ancient Greek diet is of course incredibly tragic, and it is horrible that they didn't have much food to be able to eat. But I know for myself, I will not be able to survive this week if I'm only eating barley bread. I actually need a lot of protein for every meal, so I'm going to be following more of an ancient Greek wealthier diet because then you'll actually see some more variety in recipes. I still have boundaries around, what I will and will not do for experimental archaeology. Additionally, the ancient Greek period spanned a lot of time. That's why these recipes are going to be kind of scattered about different parts of the ancient Greek period, rather than just focusing on one section, because then there's just going to be more to choose from and more variety as well. As you can see, I've already got my breakfast here in front of me. For breakfast, very often was consumed dried fruits and nuts, some olives perhaps, and barley bread, specifically dipped with wine. Now, I don't drink, and I'm still trying to find barley flour. I've been going to so many different stores and have not been able to find it. So hopefully later today I will be able to get my hands on some so that way I can make it later in the week for you all. But I decided to go with eggs, hard boiled, and some fruits and nuts and olives for breakfast because eggs definitely existed and were consumed. The ancient Greek diet is actually really exciting for me because it mainly consists of legumes, seafood, fruits, nuts, vegetables, and also occasionally some poultry, and on very rare occasions, other types of meat. For the purpose of this video, I will only be giving ratings to dinner because that's going to be the meal where you have the most interesting ingredients. The breakfasts and lunches are going to be more sort of snacky and minimal. Also, ancient Greek people didn't have forks because forks were not invented yet. So this whole week I'm going to be eating with my hands or with a spoon and a knife. All right, well, I'm going to eat this and give my body a little bit of fuel, and I will see you all for lunchtime. Hello everyone, it is the afternoon, and for lunch, or should I say arison, because we're in an ancient Greek world, it's in that multiverse after all. Because I really love seafood and this week is going to be a ton of seafood, I decided to jump into that world a little bit already. And so for arison, for lunch, I ended up having some steamed mussels, and I had quite a lot of them. So yeah, I'm really happy because I absolutely love seafood, and it's just going to be so nice to be able to have all sorts of it for the rest of this week. I will see you all for dinner time. For deipnon, the adventurer boiled some chickpeas that had been soaking for half the day, grated a ton of pecorino romano sheep cheese, cracked some black pepper, which actually would not have been consumed super frequently by the ancient Greek people, and then she attempted with a spoon to mash the chickpeas into the cheese and black pepper. After a while of trying, she decided to bring out a time-traveling fork that she just so happened to take with her from her old multiverse, in case of emergencies like this one, because a fork is just about the most massively useful thing an interuniversal traveler can carry. The time-traveling fork didn't really work either, unfortunately, so she gave up and took the leftover mussels and added them to the plate, finished by a coriander garnish. Welcome to day one dejpnon, or dinner. On the menu tonight is something that smells absolutely delicious. I've been cooking it for hours, and it is chickpeas with cheese grated over it, some black pepper, and some of the leftover steamed mussels from lunch because, yeah, they were in my fridge, so I wanted to eat them up, and I just felt like it would pair really nicely with this dish. And then I garnished it with a little bit of fresh coriander. Honestly, this is probably my favorite food week already, and it's barely even gotten started. I'm sure you can all see the excitement on my face. Do you like my little wooden spoon? I think it's so cute. All right, it's time. Well, that was absolutely delicious. As you can see, I tried to finish all of it, but I almost got there. I did put a ridiculous amount of food on my plate, so I think that's why. I'm going to try in a couple of hours to finish the rest of it. That way, of course, there isn't any food waste, because I hate food waste. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Now, in the medieval food video, I rated the dishes by curdles, and in the Viking video, I rated the dishes by tunics. And so for the ancient Greek video, it's only fitting that I rate the dishes by chitons, which is the style of garment that I'm wearing right now. So I would give this a 4 out of 5 chitons because it was very, very good, except I sort of undercooked the chickpeas just slightly. They were fully cooked through, it's just that they were a little bit more on the firm side. And I think that's because I just didn't add enough water in the end. I did boil it for about 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours, and I soaked it for half of a day, so you could probably see by the video evidence when neither the spoon nor the multiverse hopping fork seemed to work. So yeah, I'm extremely happy, as you can tell. I feel very pepped up, and I'm really looking forward to day 2 and showing you all what's on the menu. All right, see you all then. Welcome to day 2 of the Ancient Greek Food Week. It is currently the afternoon, and today for breakfast I ended up having basically the same thing that I had yesterday. Hard-boiled egg, some dried fruits, nuts, and olives, because I still cannot find barley flour, so I'm going to bite the bullet and order it online because, yeah, it seems like going to different stores is not working. So I think it's time to order it online, and hopefully it'll arrive by the end of the week. And then for lunch, I had the same thing again, some mussels, and that's because they were going to go bad in my fridge if I didn't cook the rest of what I had, so yeah, just trying to prevent some food waste and nice source of lunch. Now I promise the dinner is actually going to be different than it was yesterday. And for today's outfit, since I usually run you through my outfits in these weeks because I love historical fashion and that's what a lot of my channel is based around, I'm wearing my orange chiton that I made, and I'm wearing my natural curls in the front, hair braided, and this pretty velvet belt with a brass buckle that I made a couple years ago. All right, well, I think this is enough talking for now, so I'm going to go and have my day, and I'll see you all when I start preparing dinner. On the second day, the adventurer started with some olive oil and red wine vinegar whisked together, some thyme, no Thyme machines were harmed, a pinch of asafoetida, aka devil's dung, and chopped coriander. This marinade was then whisked together and poured over chicken livers and set aside to marinate for an hour. After thoroughly washing her hands, because she certainly did not want to get food poisoning again like last time, she began to finely slice some cabbage, as well as even more coriander, and went on to prepare some dressing, first by heating honey over a flame, adding red wine vinegar, and skimming the mixture. The final step was to add a little devil's dung yet again and set the salad aside for later. After realizing her skewers were far too long for the pan and not going to work, she resorted to simply cooking the marinated liver as is, and the kitchen began to smell absolutely delectable. I'm so excited for tonight's dinner. It smells absolutely delicious. It is cabbage made the Athenian way, and Olympic marinated skewers, which of course, because the skewers didn't fit in my pan, they were just roasted on the pan instead. I went ahead and garnished it with some olives that are stuffed with garlic and some dried figs, which I think altogether is going to be absolutely delicious. Now, there are actually some ingredients in this that I haven't tried before. For instance, honey vinegar, which I had to make. I think maybe I've had honey vinegar a long time ago, or perhaps, you know, not knowing it being in something else, but I've never actually made honey vinegar before. And the other thing is this spice which shows up for both of these dishes, and I'm totally going to butcher this name, but it's called asafoetida, I think. I would say the smell of it is something kind of like a mix between fenugreek and sort of like an onion or garlic powder, but also maybe a touch of fennel. It sort of has this like herbaceous smell, but then a little bitter undertone as well. And it's very potent. All of my dishes when I was washing them smelled like it, for instance. And about the cabbage made the Athenian way, it was apparently popular amongst ancient Greek writers. And I mean, I'm a poet. I'm releasing a poetry book in November, so I think it's made for me. And of course, the Olympic marinated skewers were made for athletes to give them, I guess, a boost of protein. So the marinated skewers come from a recipe online that is from Tasting History. And in the recipe, it calls for some type of livestock like red meat. But I ended up using chicken liver because from a lot of the reading I was doing, apparently red meat livestock, like things other than poultry, were not actually very common. And poultry already was an upper class food, but then, you know, red meat and larger animals were even more so. So that's why I ended up going with chicken liver, because I also actually really enjoy chicken liver as well. I'm one of those weird people that loves organ meats and all the stuff that most people find disgusting. I think it's a part of my cultural food anyway, so that's probably why. But yeah, I'm going to dig in because it looks so good and I want to try everything. Cabbage salad is great. It's very sweet, but it has like a perfect amount of acidity, and yeah, it's just really well balanced flavors. This asafoetida ingredient, I think that's how you say it, is very nicely paired with it because it just creates sort of this bitter flavor punch because of it being kind of akin to garlic or onion powder in some ways. All right, now I'm going to try the liver. If I can find a little piece. Maybe I need to use my hands. No, I can break out the spoon, that's good. This is the best liver that I've ever eaten in my entire life. And the two of these together, they pair so incredibly well. And they both kind of have the sweetness with the acidity. So yeah, just together, they're like the perfect meal. That was so good. I feel simultaneously equipped now to be a professional athlete and a professional writer, and I'm really liking this pairing. That's what this food made me feel like. The two of them were not meant to be together, but I just had this inkling that they would work so nicely together, and I was not wrong. I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 5 kittens. It was just a very good meal, and I'm super excited to see what's on the menu for tomorrow. Good night, see you all then! It is day 3, and for breakfast, again, today, I had a hard-boiled egg, dried fruits and nuts. You know the deal. That seems to be my go-to breakfast. It is going to get switched up tomorrow, but for these 3 days, since I focused a lot of energy on dinner, I decided to just make breakfast a little bit more simple and follow the ancient Greek people. Well, the wealthy ones at least, because, yeah, the lower income ones were obviously eating bread and porridge only, so yeah. It is the afternoon again, and that means I already had lunch as well, which was super simple because I just ate the leftovers from yesterday. Definitely made me feel like I had lots of energy to get through my day, and then I felt like I wanted to write a bunch of poetry, but maybe that's just a side effect of this salad. If any of you try out this recipe, let me know if you end up writing a poem afterwards. Today I'm wearing my light blue ancient Greek kitten that I made, and I'm wearing my hair like I did yesterday with my natural curls at the front. And then this sweet jewelry set that I've owned for I think most of my life. It's like little pearls and these little egg-looking things with some matching earrings. And then I took this antique ribbon and kind of just tied it around my body like in an ancient Greek style. Well, I will see you all for the dinner cooking process because I've got something else fun up my sleeve, up my weird rectangular kitten sleeve that isn't actually a sleeve, it's all just one giant rectangle that gets gathered down, so I don't think it counts as a sleeve. And I've got so much energy right now, I'm gonna blame these meat skewers. I think it's their fault, and the salad, and yeah, I have so much energy. I think I need to go run around for like a few hours because, yeah, this is not containable. All right, well, see you all for dinner time. And so the day 3 dinner preparations commenced, with some chopping of onions, and it turns out crying from onions is a universal theme in most multiverses. And then of course there was plenty of garlic, some carrots, some celery, and then it was time to saute the onions and garlic in olive oil, which, as you might imagine, dear viewer, smelled absolutely amazing. Then the carrots and celery went into the pot, followed by thyme, which apparently there is plenty of as far as universal travel is concerned. Then it was adding the only 2 remaining measly bay leaves, which somehow the adventurer managed to find at the back of the cupboard in this universe. Then she added the remaining chickpeas from a couple of days ago, chopped parsley and chives, and finally everything was left to boil. But that wasn't the only thing on the menu tonight. The adventurer took some now boiled pearl barley, which ended up turning grey because of this cursed pan that seems to turn everything grey no matter how many times you season it, and she placed a small amount into a grape leaf, alongside some sauteed onions and garlic, and she carefully folded each one up. Once all the grape leaves were formed into neat little rolls, she placed them all in a pot with some water, leaving them to boil with some oil and a bowl on top for weight. She then checked on the soup, which had now long since been boiling, and added in a rather predictable ingredient for ancient Greek food: seafood. Prawns, more specifically. She let those cook for a while and proceeded to make some sauce, mixing some fried garlic and onions with goat's yogurt. The prawn stew was garnished by some balsamic reduction, and the now boiled grape leaves were removed and paired up with the yogurt. Good evening, everybody. Tonight on the menu is 2 very delicious looking things. It is a chickpea and prawn stew. It's supposed to be a soup. I'll explain a little bit why it's a stew. And some pearl barley stuffed grape leaves with an onion yogurt sauce. Everything looks so delicious. Now the chickpea soup recipe actually comes from a modern Greek recipe website, which is very, very delicious, but they mention that it includes a bunch of ancient Greek ingredients. So when I was finding the recipes for this video, this just felt like a recipe that I absolutely wanted to try and wanted to make. But every single ingredient on the list from this website, I had to double check to verify that it truly did exist during ancient Greek times, because it's a meld between some more modern Greek ingredients and some more ancient ones. Additionally, I didn't blend the soup as the recipe called for because blending would have been an incredibly laborious task during ancient Greek times, as you can imagine. So I thought it would have been a lot more probable that you would get more of a chunky soup. Now, during my medieval food week, a lot of people in the comments left information about carrots, explaining how the orange carrot was perhaps not likely and carrots would have more probably been purple or yellow. But I actually started to do a little bit of research on this, specifically for this video, and there actually was an orange carrot illustration from about the 6th century CE, which I found. And there's a really interesting resource, which is featured in the sources section in the description box, that talks about how the orange carrot was most likely popularized in the 18th century by Dutch people. But that doesn't mean that it didn't exist before then, just that the cultivar was popularized, the color specifically. I just feel like it's super cool that I found this illustration of the orange carrot because, yeah, it's just really nice to know that it was known by ancient Greek people. But let's get to eating now that I've given you all this background information, and of course, there's tons of seafood in this with the prawns. I absolutely love prawns, so I'm very excited. And let's try the stew first. The recipe also says to put lemon juice, but since it's a more modernized recipe, that makes sense. But it turns out that lemons actually didn't exist during ancient Greek times. There was one known type of citrus fruit, the name of which I'll put here on the screen because I also can't remember it. And it's sort of like a lemon, but it kind of looks like a bit of a wonky lemon. Anyways, let's stop talking about lemons and let's try this soup. Wow. This is one of the best stews that I have ever had. And I have had so many different types of stew, but this is like, I don't even know how to begin to explain the complexity of flavor. The seafood works super well with it. The prawns are just perfect. Then you get this kind of almost slight creaminess from the chickpea, but the thing that absolutely makes this dish is the oxymel, the balsamic reduction. It creates that acidity that you really want in something with seafood a lot of the time. Like a sweet and sour sauce. Something like that is probably the closest that I can think of. Oh, this soup is just absolutely amazing. Like, I'm so mind blown right now. I almost don't have words for how good this is. All right, now let's try these grape leaves and let's see if I can eat them with a spoon, because the ancient Greeks don't give a fork because they didn't exist yet. All right, well, I'm gonna use my hands partially. Okay, this is also super, super tasty. Not as good as the soup, but still very good. Well, that was extremely delicious. I give the soup a 10 out of 5 ketones because, as you could see by my reaction, I'm sure you understand why. And for the stuffed grape leaves, I'm giving them a 4 out of 5 ketones because I think I could have boiled them a little bit longer, and the flavor of them was sort of not that complex. It was a bit more straightforward and simple, which can be good, of course, but in this case, the soup just, the complexity of the flavors completely overpowered the sort of simpleness of the grape leaves flavors. This has been a wonderful day 3, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 4. Welcome to day 4, everyone. I'm feeling nice and peppy today because I ended up having some barley porridge for breakfast called Mystron or Mystron in this Hellenistic Recipes PDF. And it was okay, you know, it's barley porridge. I just utilized some of the pearl barley from yesterday, which was cooked in my cursed iron pan that turns things gray. It's my only pan that does this, and no matter how much I season it, it just doesn't want to work. I'm just gonna have to try again, but it's not harmful or anything, so it's just an aesthetic thing at the end of the day, and I guess I get extra iron or something. I think that's the silver lining. The iron lining. I'm still laughing. Okay, anyways. So I give the barley porridge like a 3 out of 5 ketones. It was kind of mediocre. And then for lunch, I had some of the leftovers from last night's dinner, which was like amazing. I ended up eating the soup cold today, and it was actually super, super good cold as well. For dinner, I have some more seafood on the menu. What else were you expecting? I actually run a one-person production company, so everything you see in these videos is just me. And so that's why you may have noticed that the format of this video is a little bit different than the prior two, because I really had to think extremely deliberately after 2 other tries of this week what is and is not within my capacity to manage on my own. Especially since I have to do all the pre-production, the production, and the post-production myself. And even though I work in filmmaking and post-production outside of YouTube, there's still only so much that one person can do by themselves in a week or 2. But yeah, I just wanted to express that because I think some people think that I have a bunch of people working with me. And no, that's not true. One of my really dear friends helps me out a few times a year. If there's something that I really can't do myself, she'll help me out for a day shoot. But 99.9% of the time, what you see here is just me. And I think that's something that content creators don't often talk enough about, the hundreds of hats that we have to wear. All right, well, I'm gonna start getting some of the preparations ready for dinner time, and I will see you all then. As Deipnon preparations began, the adventurer remembered that her friend in this multiverse kindly gifted her a squash from the garden that simply had to be eaten. She added some olive oil, a sprinkle of salt, and some thyme. Not a sacrifice from the Thyme Machine, of course. Why on multiverse Earth would she do that? She needed to get back somehow, and she placed the vegetable flesh into the oven to bake. Then some cabbage, oil, and vinegar was thrown together for a simple and fresh salad and set aside to marinate. She began to cook the main show of this meal. Into the pan went some olive oil, fish sauce, honey, and finally the prawns. And once cooked, the sauce was further reduced and combined with some oregano and black pepper to be poured over the cooked delights. On the menu tonight is honey-glazed prawns, a nice balsamic and olive oil cabbage salad, and some olive oil and salt roasted squash, and I am so excited. It smells so delicious, lots of vegetables. I'm very, very happy. I just want to dig in because I am hungry. Okay, Let's try the prawns first. Wow. Wow. I'm gonna cry. Am I gonna cry over these prawns being this good? Wow, okay. That's it. I'm like, my eyes are starting to get a little bit watery because of how good this is. Some of the honey caramelized in the pan at the end and kind of created this sort of, you know, like roasted brown sugar, that type of consistency, that kind of like chunky caramelized. Yeah, it's so good. Tastes like kettle corn prawns. Salad time. Really fresh and just pairs super nicely with everything else. So let's try the squash. Not as tasty as the others, but still very good. I think just the whole variety that is created on this plate. I'm glad that the other two are not very sweet because it really lets the prawns shine then, and then doesn't create like an overwhelm with sweet flavor. But yeah, this was so good. Wow. Well, that dinner gets a 10 out of 5 Keatons from me. It was so good that I nearly started crying. Have you ever had a meal where it was so good that you nearly started crying? If you've had a meal that made you cry in your life, please put it down in the comments. I want to hear what it is. I feel like it's gonna get very sentimental in the comments, to be honest, because there could be a lot of reasons why a meal might make someone cry from joy. I don't really have many more words to say other than that. Comes from the British Museum article, so it's available for free. If you want to try this dish, then you will probably not be disappointed. Okay, let's see if anything this week can top that. See you all for day 5 tomorrow! Happy day 5, everyone! Is it day 5? I think it's day 5. It's now the afternoon, but today for breakfast and for lunch, yes, twice, I had something that is technically a dessert, but I thought it would make a great meal actually. It's called the nut omelet. So basically I took some pine nuts, almonds, walnuts, baked them for a little while in the oven, then I tried to crush them with a mallet, which sort of worked a little bit, but not really. And then I took white wine, goat's milk, and honey, poured it over the nuts, then I cracked 6 eggs, and then blended all of that together, added a little salt, and then put everything into a cast iron pan, and I cooked it for a little while, and then at the end, I put it in the oven to bake for like 5 minutes just to be able to set the top, and oh my god, this is such a good meal. I was honestly incredibly impressed. I would give it a 6 out of 5 Keatons. It was very, very, very delicious. So much so that I decided to eat it for lunch as well. For my outfit today, I kind of didn't want to put that much effort into it, so I'm just wearing my light blue Keaton with an antique ribbon, and I just sprayed my hair with some water to be able to replenish my natural waves a little bit. I didn't feel like putting my hair up today. Alright, well, I'm going to go and run some errands, and I will see you all when dinner preparations commence. Truth be told, the adventurer was feeling a little uncertain about this dinner. She took cod and began by adding salt and pepper, marjoram, and white wine vinegar, and in a separate dish, she laid out some grape leaves and began filling each with some fish and chives, rolling them up tightly. She covered them with some white wine, and into the oven they went. It is day 5 dinner, and tonight's meal is either going to be absolutely amazing or absolutely horrid. And I have no idea which one it's going to be. It's called baked fish of Archistratus, I think is how you pronounce it. It smells a little bit sweet. I don't really know how to describe it. I think I'm just gonna try it instead. I'm really tired today as well, so I think I'm ready to just get going with this meal. I have a knife this time, so I came a little bit more prepared. I don't really know how I feel about this meal. It wasn't very good at first, and then the flavor kind of grew on me. So I feel like it's missing certain flavors. I feel like it's missing a creaminess. and maybe something sweet. So I think that this could be really nice with like a caper goat milk kind of sauce, for instance, on top would be really nice. It has the acidity, it has like lots of protein, it has like some interesting flavors. But yeah, I really think it's just missing some type of creamy sauce. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 Ketons, just as its own thing. It feels like something is really missing. Well, we've been having so many great dinners that there had to be one that was kind of meh. This is it. All right, everyone. Well, I'll see you all tomorrow for day 6. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 6. For breakfast today, I had more of the nut omelet, and it was so good again. And for lunch, I ended up having the fish dish that wasn't very great last night, but this time around, I cooked up sort of like a goat's milk honey sauce to put over it, and that made it taste a lot better. It still wasn't like amazing, but it did definitely help with the flavor quite a bit. Today, I'm wearing my olive green peplos with a little antique ribbon to tie it over, and then this really cool vintage necklace that I've shown in other videos, but it's reminding me of Hellenistic necklaces, so I think it suits ancient Greek clothing just perfectly. I'm going to go and have a walk out in the rain because I actually love rainy weather so much, and then I will see you all for dinner time. And so, as the week was coming to a close, the adventurer boiled some green lentils in a pot of chicken broth, adding in a bunch of chopped leeks and some onion, and by a bunch, I mean truly a bunch. The pot was seasoned with coriander seeds and set to boil for a couple of hours. Once nearly done, she added in some of the finest summer honey from this universe, some red wine vinegar, and the soup was complete. All that was left was for her to garnish it with a little olive oil and some grated sheep's cheese. It is dinner day 6, and tonight on the menu we have lentil soup. The original recipe called for celery and carrot, and then I checked my fridge, thinking I had both celery and carrot, and I used it all up the other day. I ended up improvising a little bit, and I put in an extra leek to make it like very leaky and oniony, which is going to be really nice. And I also grated a little bit of cheese on top too, some sheep's cheese, because yeah, I just thought it would be really, really nice all together. Aside from that, I followed the recipe exactly like it is in the PDF. Let's just go ahead and dive right into the bath of soup. I put a lot on my plate here, I don't know what I was thinking, but okay. Interesting. Because of all the leeks and the onions and the cheese, it actually tastes a little bit like French onion soup, which I'm not complaining. I really like French onion soup. It's really good, honestly. I think it tastes really great. The vinegar flavor is a little bit strong, so I maybe would have dialed back the vinegar by half. Other than that, it's really, really good. I would give it a 5 out of 5 Ketons because it wasn't as good as some other dish that I gave a 6, but it was better than another dish that I gave a 4. I don't remember which dishes, I just very distinctly remember giving these ratings. So yeah, hence my reasoning. Well, I'm gonna finish up the rest of my soup, and then I will see you all for the final day tomorrow, which I just cannot believe is already tomorrow. Some more surprises in store up my non-existent sleeve. Are you all tired of that bit yet? Because I am. Alright, well, see you all tomorrow. Well, shockingly, it is day 7, the final day. And yeah, wow, the week has just been one big ancient Greek food blur. I have something nice on the menu for tonight's dinner, including a little dessert to celebrate the end of this week. But when it comes to breakfast and lunch today, I just kept it super, super simple after this huge week of cooking and editing and filming and everything else, and I just ate lentil soup twice. That way I could also just finish up what was left and kind of have a clean slate for tonight's dinner. Alright, well, I will see you for dinner time! At last, it was the final evening. The adventurer knew she had one more opportunity to try a recipe she had been eyeing since the start of this journey. She took sole fillets and set them in a baking dish, alongside some white wine and fish sauce. Then she added some leek and fresh coriander, cooking them in the oven for some time. Then, setting aside the liquid for later, she ground together lovage, pepper, and oregano, adding these to the mixture and finally cracking in 2 eggs. She then poured this new mixture back over the sole and let it set in the oven, because all soles take time to set. No adventure would be complete without a dessert, so she took chopped pears and placed them in a pan, alongside some white wine, honey, and cinnamon. She let these simmer for some time until they became very soft, and then mashed them until pureed. Now, all that was left was to relish in the enjoyment of this last meal before she would inevitably use the Thyme Machine again and go back to her old parallel universe, where everyone does not wear ancient Greek clothing and does not eat ancient Greek food. It is the very final dinner, and tonight on the menu is a dish called patina of sole. And it smells incredibly good, and I managed to get some fresh sole from my fishmonger, so it should be even better. I didn't realize that soles could have a patina. Perhaps it's that thing where you get wiser with age and experience, and so maybe your sole develops a patina over time. Okay, I'm gonna stop with this joke. It's kind of a beautiful idea to think of the sole as having a patina. It sounds very poetic. I'm eating this partially with my hands because this is a whole sole, so there's a bunch of little bones that need to be picked out. It's really yummy though, wow. That was extremely delicious. There were so many bones though, I had to pull out like an entire backbone. I would give this one a 5 out of 5 Ketons, because yeah, just very good, nice and light. The sauce and the patina worked really well with everything, and yeah, it was just a very, very good dish. It also feels very historical, probably because I had to pick bones out of the fish constantly. And there's one more course happening tonight, which is dessert. I like to have a dessert on the final night of these weeks to kind of celebrate and round everything together, so I'm going to go and grab it, and we're going to try that one. The final meal of this week is the dessert honeyed pear. And normally it's meant to be quince, except they say that if you don't have those, to use pears, and so I chose some pears that were a little bit less ripe. That way they kind of mimic a quince a little bit. I'm just very excited to try it. It smelled really good while it was cooking. That is so lovely. The thing that I love about these historical desserts is the type of sweetness they possess. Because it's always honey or some type of naturally occurring fruit sugar, you don't really get that sickeningly sweet type of thing that you can with pastries and such nowadays, or just dessert in general because of how much sugar is in it. There's just something very earthy about their sweetness, and this dessert is very much that way as well, I would say. Well, that was just such a lovely way to end this week. I would give this a 5 out of 5 Ketons as well. Just an excellent dessert all around. I think my favorite meal for this week was the honey-glazed prawns. Those really stuck out to me more than any other meal. Many of the meals this week were great, but that one just was at another level. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and for being a part of this week with me. And if you'd like to see me wear only ancient Greek fashion for an entire 30 days, then be sure to watch this video next. Now I need to go back to my time machine and head back to my original parallel universe, because there are some people there and they seem to miss me a little bit, so I should probably go and tell them what's been happening with me. Whether or not they'll believe me, well, who knows. See you in 2 weeks for another video.